Hello and welcome to the instructional video on the brand new Bailey 2021 Adamo 754DL. So we'll start around the outside and we'll work our way on towards the inside. So first things first, when we're in the cab area here, you've got your fuel filler, diesel into there, add blue chemical into this one just here. Tyre pressures are displayed on this pillar just here. To open the bonnet on these Ford cabs, you need the key. That goes into there. Turn it one way, turn it the other way, and then lift the bonnet. So while we're under the cab, you've got your washer fluid, brake fluid, oil, dipstick. If you ever need to jump start these vehicles, you need to put the positive terminal onto this tab here. So the positive goes onto that terminal there, and your earth is this round piece of metal here, so that's your earth. So your black cable on there, red onto here, and your coolant is just there. So I'll walk you around the outside and the main points to note. So the first one we come to on the driver's side is the toilet cassette. There's an indication inside to tell you when that's full. In order to empty this, you lift that tab up there, slide the cassette out. This would be full of toilet waste. To empty that, take the cassette out, take the nozzle off the end, pour the toilet waste away. As you're doing so, press this button in here. That lets air in as the liquid's coming out, and that empties your toilet. This cassette requires the chemical putting into it, so to do that, you slide that back, open up this blade via this knob here, and then pour the chemical into there. Just put a little bit of water in the bottom, and then the cassette's ready to be used again after you've swilled all the waste out. You can swill it out. You can fill it up with water and then swill it completely out, and then add the chemical. So the next thing along to note is this is the exhaust for the boiler. So when it's running on gas, you will get steam rising from here. That needs to be kept clear of debris. If debris is left in there, it will sense that there's a blockage and the boiler will stop working. Underneath here we've got the waste outlet. So this is all the wastewater that goes down the sink and down the shower. That's emptied via this pull lever here. And we can see underneath the vehicle. So when it's pushed in, that's closed. You pull it out, that drains all the water from the waste tank. So the next one along from that is the water fill. So this fills the onboard tank. That's done by filling, you put this square nodule into here. So that square block clips into this receptacle here, and that's where the water fills. The other end of that hose just goes onto a domestic tap, so it's just a standard bayonet fitting that you would have on a domestic garden hose, or on the sites they've got those sometimes next to the pitch where you parked. If not, then you just drive over to the service terminal. So next to that we've got access to the garage area. In here we've got the carpets, a winder for the awning. That's just placed into the awning itself with a hook on the other side. We've got a separate video on how to operate awnings, which I'll upload with the instructions for this particular customer. You've got a light bar at the other side, but we'll work our way around to that on the other side. Okay, so the back of the vehicle, you've got your camera terminal here. That is adjustable. Keep the lens clear of water. If water is on there, you will sometimes get a distorted picture through the camera that's mounted on the dash. Next one along is just the access to the other side of the garage stroke storage area. In this shelf here we've got a mains cable, the hose that we talked about to fill the water, and we've got a puncture repair kit. So it's a compressor that uses the 12 volt off the cab, and the instructions are on there, but that's the repair move should you get a puncture. That door retainer clips in onto this here. To release that, you press that button down there and that releases the door. To lock these catches, you close the door, push it home past the seal, turn these around, put the key into there, lock it, and then push these so that they remain locked. Next one along is the gas locker. So the bottles sit in here, and those straps retain the bottles in position. This is the pigtail that connects the vehicle via a flexible hose to the gas bottles. That just screws onto the other side of this inline regulator, and that connects up your bottles to the vehicle. The bottles are individually switched, so there's a tap on top of the bottles once they're in position, and that switches on and off the gas supply to your vehicle. Just past the main door we have the electrical point, so that's where the mains electric comes in. That's the cable that we showed you in the garage. When that is connected, you just lift up the lid on the actual cable itself. So the cable's got a protective lid. You lift that up and the lid slides into that little slot there, and that's how the cable attaches to the vehicle. So the awning that we talked about, the winder, has got a hook on the end which attaches to this reciprocal key on the awning itself, and then that's just wound out, but there is a separate instructional video for that. Okay, now we're inside the vehicle. This is the main entrance door. You've got the main control panel here, so that's the 12-volt switch that switches the vehicle on and off essentially. So it says master on there. We've got a warning to say that the water tank is nearly empty. To come out of that menu, you just press that button there. Okay, so this is a fairly simple scroll through menu. So you've got the time displayed. As we're scrolling through here, you've got your leisure voltage. So that's your leisure battery voltage. We're not plugged in at the moment, so that's perfectly normal 12 volts because we've got the light switched on. Next one up is your vehicle battery, slightly higher because we're not drawing power from that. Okay, so this shows you how many amps are being drawn from the leisure battery. So we are drawing a current because we've got the light switched on. Next one along is your internal temperature, external temperature, water level for your fresh water, waste level for the waste tank that we showed you just outside. That's got some in it because we've been testing it for the pre-delivery inspections. You can select which battery you want to use. Should you discharge your leisure battery, you can actually change to your vehicle battery. Not recommended, because if you discharge your vehicle battery, you won't be able to start the engine. This is if you wanted to fill from an external tank. I wouldn't worry about that because they use the same control panel on caravans which have external fill tanks, so you would have a container of water on the floor. Next one along is your settings, so you can change the time, etc. in that menu. This is your water pump switch, so that switches your pump on. You won't get any water out of your taps unless that is switched on. So when that's switched on and you first connect, when you first fill the water tank, you need to switch that pump on. And then open up the taps and wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out of the taps on both the hot side and the cold side, and then you know that you've purged the pipes of all the air that's in the system, and then you're just getting a pure flow of water. On the hot side of things, you know then that you've filled the boiler and you're not just switching the boiler on and heating thin air that's inside the boiler, so it's important that you do that. These are just the light switches, so you can switch your the main lights on inside the vehicle just with that top switch there, and that's your warning light for outside. Okay, so while we're on control panels, this is the control panel here for the bed. So this top one here switches between the beds. So the front one obviously controls, then lets you control the front bed. That's done by pressing up and down on this control panel here. So if I press down on here, we can see the bed dropping down. Okay, so before the bed goes all the way down, you will need to drop the table, and that's done via this switch here. So we can see the bed going down there. And then if you take these corner bolsters off, this control then will let you drop the bed all the way to the bottom position. So it stops at that position, then you need a further press on this here so that the bed will go all the way down to the bottom. So you can see that that comes down to sort of waist height. It will go further when you remove those bolsters, so that it's easy to get in and out of the bed. So if we switch that rocker switch to the back bed, as we come across here, you've got another control panel which is exactly the same. So you press the button down on there. We've got the rear bed lowering. The same situation applies with this. It will come down to a set point, and then if you give a further press on this control panel here, it'll bring the bed all the way down to the bottom. So above the rear bed control, we've got the boiler control. So to switch that on and waking it up, you just give it a press on this dial here. First menu you can see is flashing here is the temperature in the vehicle. So if you click on that as it's flashing, it'll give you an option to select your temperature. So 22 degrees is room temperature. If we select that, we've dialed in the temperature that we require. The next one along on the menu is the water temperature. So that's flashing there now. Give a press on that. So at the moment it's off. We scroll through these here. We've got off, eco, which is 40 degrees water, hot, which is 60 degrees water, and boost. So boost will take the fuel from the heating of the vehicle and allocate it to the heating of the water. So when it's in boost position, you're heating the water very fast, but you won't be able to heat the vehicle. The next one along on the main menu is your fuel options. So next one along is your fuel options. So the video got interrupted there, so I think we were up to the fuel. So the next one along here on the control panel here is fuel. Okay, so you've got gas only, mix of gas and electric on 1 kilowatt, mix of gas and electric on 2 kilowatts, electric only on 1 kilowatt, electric only on 2 kilowatts. You can adjust the fan if you want, just to vent, so it'll blow cool air without any heat. You can set the timer so that it'll come on at a certain time and go off at a certain time, and then that sets your time. The next one is settings menu. You can adjust the brightness of the panel, and there's various other settings in there. There are some important drain down procedures for this vehicle. So in winter use, you do need to drain the systems down. So the water is you need to get all the water out of the vehicle. Open up the taps, open up the kitchen tap and the bathroom tap. Also, this is the boiler here. This is where the boiler's housed. It's important that that's drained down in winter, and the valve for doing so is just here. And that's open, that's closed, and in the operational position. So in order to retain the water in the boiler, that valve must be in that position. So that's the usable position. So that's drained in the drain position. If you want to make this bed here in the lounge area into bed, it is possible to do so. You just pull this section out here, draw the cushions into the centre, and this will make a bed here at the back. On the subject of draining the vehicle down, this is the rear lounge area here. Under this panel here at the back, there's the freshwater tank. If you unscrew this, you'll see a chain there, the plug on the bottom. So that plug goes into that hole there, and that's how you drain down the freshwater tank. So the fridge operation on this model, you switch on the fridge here with that button. That switches on the main control panel. It's what's known as a three-way fridge. So you can select the power source that you want to use by pressing this middle button here and then scrolling through the power sources here. So we start from the right to the left. That's gas, So obviously you need gas bottles on. This is the operation if you use if you're off grid and not on site. 12 volts, that will only work while the engine is running and won't get it cold. You need to get it cold on gas or electric first, and then that will maintain the temperature while you're traveling. Okay, so then the next one along is mains electric, and then the very final one is automatic. So it will automatically select the most relevant power source according to whether you've got mains coming in or you've connected to gas or the engine is running. So that's probably the most logical position to keep it on, but you can override it and select your own power source if you want to. So to select that, you're pressing the middle button. Then it'll ask you what temperature you want the fridge set to. So if it's really hot outside, you want the fridge to work harder, have it at its highest setting. If it's cold, then obviously lower the temperature, otherwise the fridge will freeze up. Just one thing, if you get a red warning light here, as we did, it's telling you that we've neither got gas, electric or 12 volts, which we in this case we haven't. So should that warning light come on there, the fridge has stopped working, it won't work, and you need to then switch it off and reset the fridge so that it'll look for the power source that you have set or reconnected. So while we're in the bathroom, the toilet operation, that is the flush. So that flushes the toilet. When the cassette's full, which I showed you outside, that illuminates. To drain, so to use the toilet, this flap here is the blade which I showed you on the cassette, which is outside. That's operated via this here, so that opens and closes the blade which is inside. So the method would be to open the blade up, use the toilet, flush using the button there. Remember to close the blade back up, otherwise when you're travelling, the liquid which is in the tank at the bottom can swirl around and make a mess of the bathroom. This motorhome has seat belts underneath these bench seats, and they are folded away underneath these bench seats. So you've either got the lounge arrangement like we have here, or you've got the seat belt arrangement. They're folded up from underneath this bench seat here. So to do that, you take off the cushions, turn this quarter of a turn here and lift up the folded down seat belted seat like so. And then if you put these cushions, one of them's got a hard base, if you put that back onto the base here and then the backing cushion goes onto there, then that gives you your seat belted seat for the passenger. Passenger's legs go down here, so that door here on the side, that comes across like that. So, and then it's magnetically attached there, so the passenger's legs can go down there and they can get in and out. The battery's housed underneath that cover where the passenger's feet would sit. Just under here we've got the charger unit, so that deals with charging the leisure battery which we've just showed you. You've got a bank of mains circuit breakers there, and then underneath that a bank of 12 volt fuses which are individually labelled to show you which appliance they correspond to. You've got your solar panel charging unit there, so that's a regulator for the solar panel so that it doesn't overcharge your leisure battery. So this model's got swivel captain's chairs. In order to swivel those round, the lever for that is just there, so you can pull that way on the front of the seats. That'll allow you to spin the seats around to face the lounge area. So that concludes the instructional video. If you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer those on the day of collection. Hope that was informative, and I look forward to seeing you when you collect your new vehicle.